What's going on, everybody? Tello Talk Podcast back again with another episode. I'd like to first off apologize with a little bit of a gap between last episode and this one. I was focusing on getting ready for second semester of school, as I am now officially back into my college room. However, I don't want that to stop me from making episodes, so we will be making one today, as you can tell. And we've got two big things to talk about today. We've got not only the playoffs happening starting tomorrow, we've got the NFL draft. Top 18 picks have been locked in. We know who's the top 18 draft picks, who's got those spots. And I'm going to give my intel on what I think could happen on draft night, or maybe even before draft night. So without further ado, we're gonna hop right into it. We're gonna start off with the draft. So I don't know if anybody remembers, but the Houston Texans beat the Indianapolis Colts last week, and the Chicago Bears lost to the Minnesota Vikings, making the Chicago Bears 3-14 and the Texans 3-13-1, which led to the Chicago Bears taking the number 1 seed over and the Houston Texans dropping to number 2. Now, you could be asking, why is that such a big deal? The Bears don't really need that. All they really need to do is keep that number 1 pick, because they don't need a quarterback. They could just draft Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter, two of the best prospects we've seen in a while, who are edges and D linemen, which are big needs for Chicago. But with this thing is, they know there is a lot of QB teams that need a QB. For instance, the Texans at 2, the Colts at 4, maybe Seattle at 5, Raiders at 7, and Falcons at 8, Panthers at 9. All of those teams are QB teams that need a QB. Even the Saints need a QB, and with all of those teams needing a quarterback, this could go a lot of different ways. My opinion, I think Indianapolis will be the person who pushes for the most, as they are probably the most most help in QB, as they had Matt Ryan, Sam Ellinger start, and then one other guy. But they're done. They're tired of the rent a quarterback system, and I think this is the year that they have a chance to get a guy like CJ Stroud, or maybe even Bryce Young if they trade up to number 1. And so I think the Colts, if it is to happen, will trade up to the number 1 pick. Now, I could see the Raiders dealing off Derek Carr, that first-round pick, and something else to the Colts for that number 4 overall pick to get CJ Stroud, because the Raiders as well, they need a quarterback, because they are saying, hey, we're getting rid of this guy. We're getting rid of our franchise guy for 9 years. So we're going to need a new start. And what's a better start than CJ Stroud or Bryce Young? I don't see a better start. Or, hey, the Bears could keep their pick, and then eventually, it comes down to chance. But here's where it also gets tricky. Sean Payton might be coming back to coach. And you know what that does for this? This puts it to another loop, because New Orleans, who doesn't have a first-round pick, could send his rights over to a different team to get that first-round pick, such as the Cardinals, the Texans, the Panthers. But I very, very, very unlikely think that the Panthers will get him, because it's the same division team. They would not do that. And with that, I would say Arizona is probably the favorite for Sean Payton, as they've got a very good squad, honestly, in my opinion, even though D-Hop's going to be traded probably. They've got Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown, James Conner, excuse me. JJ Watt's retiring. Buda Baker, their defense is young, but it needs improvement. So I could see them trading that number 3 spot because honestly, a coach like Sean Payton is worth a first round pick. But when you're the Cardinals, do you say is a good coach more valuable than building a young core? And to me, for the Cardinals, it getting Kyler Murray a coach. I think getting Kyler Murray a coach is more necessary than them building a little bit better of a defense or building a better line. I think free agency is where they go do that, and then Sean Payton in the draft is how they do the other. But there's another thing is with Houston, they could do it, but I don't see them trading the 2 pick. I'd see Houston doing the 12 because they're not going to give up their chance at Bryce Young. They'll give up the 12, but they're not going to give up the chance for Bryce Young. But anyways, Sean Payton and even Derek Carr just throws everything for a loop, and the Bears having the number 1 pick throws everything for a loop because now this pick, honestly, this draft could look a lot different on draft night than it does right now. I will be making another mock draft very soon. Eventually, obviously, we'll do it after Wildcard weekend, but really not much to say about the draft. I just wanted to say about that, but that's how I think that draft's going to go. But there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and also a lot of teams that need coach. All right, so we'll hop into the next thing. The next thing that I'm going to be talking about is the wild card weekend. Now, we've got Super Wild Card weekend for their second straight year, and we've got a surprising amount of matchups that I feel like are kind of familiar. Obviously, we've got 2 divisional matchups in the AFC and then one of the teams that played earlier this year. Excuse me. And then we've got a divisional matchup in the NFC with the Niners and Seahawks, and then the Cowboys and Bucks, and the Giants and Vikings. Now, I think the AFC is going to have a better in 3 games. In my opinion, there's really only 3 good games. I think that the Bills game, the Bengals game, and the Niners game are going to be blowouts. The Niners are going to win. The Bills will win, and then the Bengals will win those games. But with the news that Tua Tagovailoa, I can't say his name, he's out. Lamar Jackson's out. That just makes the gaps even bigger. And I think a team like Cincinnati, who's on an 8-game winning streak, I think it is, their hottest part of their season, like they look unstoppable. Nobody's going to beat this team in the wild, especially if it is the Baltimore Ravens with maybe not even Tyler Huntley, with Anthony Brown. The Bengals will win this game, and I've actually got the score being 31-13, Cincinnati. They beat Baltimore 27-10. So I think it'll be 13-31, maybe get something going. As for the Dolphins game, I don't see this game being close at all. Without Tua, they're not going to be able to compete against Buffalo. And Buffalo will come out with a win, 34-10. I've got a 24-point win for that game. I just think Josh Allen is going to be too much for Miami's defense. And the defense of Trey White, Jordan Poyer, I don't think Jordan Poyer's playing because he's hurt. But Matt Milano, those guys are going to be too much for this Miami offense to handle, frankly enough. And that's going to end up causing Miami to, obviously, with Skylar Thompson at the helm, not be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. And that's going to make it be a 34-10 victory for Buffalo. I mean, we saw Buffalo go out last year in the wild card and win 47-17 and had basically a perfect game with no punts. And as for the last wildcard game, now this is what I'm excited about. We've got the 5-game winning streak. Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that's won 3 of their last 4, probably kind of let the last game go because they were already in the playoffs, already had that spot locked up, already had the 5 spot. At 10-7, they started. They were they were 6-6. They finished 10-7, so 4 of the last 5 they won. The Chargers. This is going to be a good one. Both teams are at a high point in their season. They're hot right now. These teams are doing good. Lawrence is playing fantastic. Herbert's playing phenomenal. You know, the Chargers are getting healthy again. The Jaguars defense is looking really good. It's giving me Saxonville 2.0, but not. It's reminding me of Saxonville, but it's not as good, obviously. However, even though they won their division, the Chargers offense staying healthy and their defense being healthy, with Joey Bosa coming back and such, I don't see the Jaguars winning this game. I don't see them advancing. I think, to be honest, the Chargers do have a chance at even going out the week after that and beating Kansas City, because when it comes to division games for Kansas City, the team that always got their number is Los Angeles. Los Angeles is always the team that keeps it close with them. And that's what I think is going to be the case after they beat Jacksonville. However, I do think Jacksonville and Los Angeles will have a close game. I think the Chargers are going to come out with a victory, 24-20. It's going to be a real good game. I think that's the game that you're going to want to tune into. That game's on Saturday. And the other two, the AFC, they're on Sunday. Moving on to the NFC. We've got the 4-5 matchup of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Buccaneers are 8-9. Nobody expected them to be 8-9 at this point of the year, especially when you have Tom Brady. And they're playing the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys. Excuse me. Now, the Dallas Cowboys finished their season pretty terrible. But if you look at it, they've had streaks of winning after losing one game. They've lost one game and then gone on a little streak. It's like win one, lose one, win 4, win 1, lose 2. Lose 1, win 2, lose 1, win 4, lose 1, win 2, lose 1. And they finished the season off with a lose 1. So technically what would happen next is win 4, but that means they'd go to the Super Bowl, and we can't just assume they're going to be Super Bowl champions. So I don't think the Buccaneers will win this game. I think the Cowboys will advance and most likely probably play San Francisco, depending on how I think everything's going to happen. But I think this game will be a little close, but I don't think it's going to be too close. I think this game could be like a 27-17 point game. That's what I'm going to say. 27-17 is the final score. Tampa just can't get anything going. They just haven't been able to get anything going against most teams in the season. They played week 1 Dallas, who really seemed to struggle. And I don't think that was really just Tampa being better. I think that was just Tampa being ready first and Dallas not, because obviously Dallas at 12-5. They're most definitely a lot better of a team, and their defense is stepping it up a lot more. And next game, we're going to go to the 2 versus 7, which is the San Francisco 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now, for this game, I don't think it's going to be close, frankly. Everybody would probably hope for a close game. I don't think it's going to be close. With the Niners just having so many weapons, Brock Purdy playing phenomenally. I don't think it's going to be close. So this game, I just think Geno Smith, props to him. He definitely made his impact on Seattle, in my opinion, for them to bring him back next year. So I hope they bring him back. We'll have to see if they bring him back, but I don't think it's going to be enough what he's done this year. In my opinion, Detroit deserves this spot more than Seattle, despite losing to Seattle in week 3. But I don't think that team that Seattle played in week 3 is the same Detroit team that is what it is now. So I feel like they got a little lucky. They didn't have to play that team a little bit deeper in the season. But anyways, that's not what we're here about. We're here about the playoffs. And with that, I'm going to have to say that obviously San Francisco wins. And I'm going to say it's going to be San Francisco, I believe, will give it up 7 points because their defense is a top tier defense. This is one of the best defenses we've ever seen. I mean, they're giving up hardly any points in the second half. They should, ever since that shutout against the Saints, it's just been lights out defense. And they have a 10-game win streak going on too. There's no way that a 10-game winning streak is going to die to a 7 seed. Now, if I'm wrong, obviously I'll say I'm wrong, and I'll say I doubted them, or I just don't see it happening. But I've got the Niners winning this game 28-7. I think it's going to be 4 touchdowns even for the Niners and only 1 for Seattle. And moving on to the last game, we've got the number 3 versus the number 6. Now, actually, this is my most anticipated game of the weekend. I would love to see this game and how I think it is. It's going to be Minnesota is hosting New York in the 3-6 matchup. Now, the reason I said Dallas will play San Francisco is because, in my opinion, I think an upset will happen, and I think the Giants will play against Philly. And frankly, the Giants kind of made Philly look stupid with David Webb at quarterback. They only lost to the Eagles by 6 with David Webb. Now, let's talk about our wild card game instead of getting ahead of ourselves. The Vikings are frauds. They're frauds, in my opinion. They're absolute frauds. They've 13-4 record, but almost a negative point differential. I think they still do have a negative point differential. Don't quote me on that, but the fact that the Vikings have won, I think it's 11 or 12 games in one score. It is the case of good teams find a good way to win, but at the same time, that's got to be concerning, that the fact that you have so many wins off of one scores because your defense is so unreliable. So they have a negative 3-point differential, and the Lions, who got second in the division, have plus 26. So when you have a negative 3-point differential, but you're 13-4, that worries me, because that means you're either going to be in a close game or you're going to get blown out. And you've seen it from their losses. They lost by 17, they lost by 11, they lost by 37, they lost by 24. And frankly enough, you had to come back down 33-0 to the Colts. Now, granted, the greatest comeback of all time. We have never seen something like that, but it's the Colts. Come on. Why are you down 33-0 to the Colts in the first place? I mean, that is no team to ever be ahead of you like that. And with the Vikings, I like Kirk Cousins. I think he's a good guy, a good quarterback. He's really starting to prove himself. I like Dalvin Cook. Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in football. But when you are sneaking out of games against the Colts, the Jets, the Commanders, the Cardinals, when you're sneaking out of games like that, I'm pretty sure they snuck out of the Dolphins when they had a backup in, I'm pretty sure. I don't even think Tua played that game. Teddy Bridgewater was playing that game. They only won by a possession. A lot of your wins are very unimpressive. And Now I'm not saying that they don't deserve it, but a lot of their wins are unimpressive. A lot of their wins are bad. And you look at the Giants schedule, the Giants who played your Indianapolis Colts that had you down 33-0, absolutely blew them out the water. And they lost to Philly by 6. They did get blown out by Philly earlier in the year, but they only lost by 6 with their backup quarterback. With their third string quarterback, David Webb. Now they're losing to similar teams as you. They lost to Detroit, they lost to Dallas, they lost to Philly. You did beat New York in the regular season, 27-24. But your defense gave up 334 yards to Daniel Jones through the air. That you don't see very often. Daniel Jones has 2 games all year. He has over 300, and it's against your team in Detroit, 2 of the worst defenses in the league. But the thing with the Giants is they've won a lot of one-score games this year, but they've beaten a lot more impressive teams. They beat Green Bay. They beat Baltimore. They beat Jacksonville. But your most impressive win is beating a not ready week 1 Packers. And then a hurt Dolphins team. Your most impressive win was the Bills game. And hey, that's a good freaking win. The Bills are a good team, but you only have one impressive win. That's why I think the Giants will come out of this game with a victory. And if I were to put a score on it, I don't think it's going to be that high of a scoring game like it was originally. It was only 27-24, which is still pretty decently scored game. If I were to put a number on it, I would say the Giants win this game by 3. I'm going to go 27-24. It's going to be the exact same score as their regular season game, but flipped. I think the Giants will have the 27. So that's going to be my score for the Giants game. And with those are my wild card picks. That ends up putting the Chargers against the Chiefs, the Bills against the Bengals, and then the Cowboys against the Niners, and the Giants against the Eagles in the divisional round. However, that's going to be it for me today. It's a little bit of a shorter one. I just wanted to get it out. I apologize for the delay. I'll make sure to keep on getting them out and pumping them out. One will be out next week for the divisional round and maybe some more draft news. But that's going to be it for me. Hope y'all have a great day, evening, morning, afternoon, night, whenever you're listening to this. And that's going to be all. Peace.